Here we are. So this is in the bottom module. Let me show you really fast. What I'm about to go over is at the very bottom module, folks. And it's the very, see, Professor Zeiden's in-class lectures, Introduction to Public Speaking Lecture 1 with an old date on it. That's what I'm about to go over right now with you. So if you want to refer back to this, you can. Online, outlining and researching a speech. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the super macro and super basic, and we're going to go in tighter and tighter and tighter until you learn more and more detail. So when I was an undergrad and I took argumentation and debate, my professor taught us name, explain, support, conclude. And that's a concept, a structure concept. Whenever you begin anything, writing a report, giving a speech, whatever it is, you need to name what the topic is of whatever that paper, that speech is going to be. Another step is to explain what it is, because not everyone is going to understand the topic that you're presenting. I had a student a few years ago, he was a techie guy. He did a whole informative speech on some initials he used. I had no idea what the heck the topic was. And I'm like going like this the whole time I'm listening to the speech. So what that means is you need to just tell us what it is, explain what that is, just in case. Sometimes we have students from other countries in these classes. They don't always know everything that you're talking about. So just the idea of naming what it is and then telling us what that is. So support is the step of research, bringing in evidence and research into what you're saying. And that is, there's a really crude expression called talking out of your ass. I don't know if anyone's ever said that to you, or not that you're doing it, but maybe someone else is talking out of their ass. But it's a very crude saying. And what that means is that you don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying the first thing that comes into your head, and there's no authority or knowledge behind what you're saying at all. That means nobody believes you when they say you're talking out of your ass. So using research and support is a way to make everyone listening to you realize that you're not talking out of your ass, that you actually are speaking based on evidence. And then whenever you have any kind of speech or paper, you need to formally conclude that speech by summarizing it. So these are concepts to use in outlining. Now let me show you what a very skeleton, the basic skeleton of all your outlines is going to look like. So we're going to have the same structure for all of your outlines for this class that you hand in. And this is the bare bones. So when you're beginning an outline, you should put these down there first and make sure they're there. And let me go over them. So there will always, your outline will always begin with a Roman numeral 1 with the word introduction next to it. And in this short section, you're going to tell the audience what you're going to tell them. And that includes the name and explain step from the last slide. And then you're going to always have a Roman numeral 2 that has the word body next to it. And that's the body of the speech. And this is where you tell them. And this is where the research, the support comes in. And then at the end, you sum it up with a Roman numeral 3 and the word conclusion after it. And this is where you tell them what you told them. So if you've ever taken a drama class or a speech class, they always teach it, tell them what you're gonna tell them, tell them what you told them. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it's about repetition. It's about making things very clear in your structure of what you're saying. And this is what we do here. And that obviously conclusion ties in with the conclude step in the last slide. So the truth of the matter is that introduction and conclusion are like bookends of the speech. The real meat and potatoes of the speech is the body. That's where everything's going to be happening. The introduction and the conclusion are just setting the audience up for the body and then taking the audience out of the body into thank you, goodbye. Okay? So let me show you what each of these 3 sections look like individually. Introduction. This is how you begin each of your outlines for this class. There's never any difference. It's always the same. So it will be a Roman numeral 1 that says introduction. And there will always be a capital, not a small, capital ABCD under introduction. Always. Never an ABC, never an ABCDE, never a small case ABCD, always capital ABCD. So capital A is introduce yourself. So in the actual outline, after capital A, it'll say, good morning, my name is whatever your name is. And you must introduce yourself at the beginning of each of your speeches. And you might think how dumb, they're going to know my name after the first speech. Well, the point is, when you're out in the real world, there's no guarantee that everyone in the audience for every time you speak is going to know who you are. Even if you're working at a company for 20 years and you're giving a speech to the staff, there are new people who come on staff who don't work with you. They don't know who you are. You have to be in the habit of always introducing yourself first. Think about this. If you went to an event and somebody got up on the stage to speak and they did not introduce themselves and you did not know who they were, wouldn't you be a little confused? Like, who in the heck is this? Should I care about what they're saying? You need to, the audience must know who it is. And if they know who you are, they're not going to mind you saying, hello, my name is, because they already know you and they like you and they're okay with that. So the point is, capital A is always to introduce yourself. And in the outline itself, it'll either say, good morning, my name is, or hello, my name is, okay? Capital B underneath that is what we call the attention getter. It's very short. It's like a headline of a news article. It's like if you go through a web page of news stories and there's a list of headlines, which headlines are going to get your interest enough to click on it and read it? So it's the same kind of idea. The attention getter can be one of many things. If you have any experience in the topic of your speech, this is where you tell us. You don't have to have experience in the topic of your speech, but if you do, you must let us know in B, attention getter. Another thing you can do in attention getter is give us some kind of a really interesting quote or statistic about the topic to get us interested. If it's about drunk driving and you say in 2020, 33,000 people died in drunk driving accidents. That's kind of a huge number. So that would get our attention into drunk driving. One kind of attention getter you'll see I like to use is what I call a hypothetical question about the topic that would try to get people interested in what you're saying, what I'm saying. So it can be a number of different things, but it cannot be long. An attention getter is not long. It's maybe 1 to 2 sentences long. It's quick and it's fast and it's strong and it gets your attention as an audience. Now, C and D, a lot of my students get these mixed up. And so I'm going to explain these as clearly as I can. Capital C here is called your thesis statement. And this is when you tell the audience what your overarching theme for your speech is, your overarching topic. So after C, it will say, today I'm going to tell you about whatever the big overarching topic is. Okay? So C is thesis statement. Now D, for each of your 3 graded speeches, in the body of those speeches, you're always going to have 3 main points. 3, not 2, not 4, not 5, but 3. And those 3 main points are going to be previewed in D. So these are 3 main points under the overarching topic. The 3 main points are about the overarching topic. And so in D, you list the 3 main points. You're listing them in order, in the order you're going to cover them in the speech. And you don't say anything about them. You just list them. That's it. So it would be, C would be, so today I'm going to be talking about blah, blah, overall topic. D, we're zooming in on the 3 main points. I'll start with the blah, blah. Then I'll cover the da, and finally I'll show you the blah, blah. And I'm going to show you this format with different content plugged into it, either today or when we meet again on Monday. C and D are very different and people confuse them. I don't know why, but so the body is where the meat, where the bulk of everything is in the speech. And this is formatted a little bit differently. You start out with Roman numeral 2 and then the word body. If you don't write the word body, it's incorrect, but also you're going to get confused and you're going to start putting main points on that line, and you don't do that. But just simply, the way the 3 main points are going to look under Roman numeral 2 body are capital A, B, C. Simply put, that's right here, capital A, B, C. Capital A is main point number 1. Capital B is main point number 2. Capital C is main point number 3. Now we do something in the body before each main point, and that's called a signpost. This is a transition sentence that takes us into the main point. So for this first signpost, you would want to write something like, first I'm going to cover the history of whatever your topic is. So for this first speech, the how-to speech, the 3 main points are worked out for you already. You get to choose your topic. A, main point 1 will be the history of whatever it is that you choose to show us in the speech. How to means a demonstration. It's a demonstration speech. It's one type of an informative speech, but we're focusing first on the how-to speech. So main point number 1, which is capital A in the outline, is going to be the history of whatever it is you decide to choose for your topic. And in this first speech, main point number 2, which is capital B, is going to be types of. You're going to tell us about different types of whatever it happens to be, you're going to demonstrate to us. And then main point 3, capital C, is going to be the demonstration itself. How to. Okay. So before each of these letters, you're going to say signpost. First, I will cover the history of whatever it is. So capital A would just say history of whatever the topic is, folks. That's what the text will say after A. So then you're going to go in one more level down, and that level down is regular numbers. You're going from big to small in an outline as far as the levels go. You're going from Roman numerals are large numerals to capital letters to regular numbers, and then small letters, and then small Roman numerals. So it goes from big to large. It also alternates always number, letter, number, letter, number, letter as you're going down the different levels of an outline. One more thing, before you go to the subpoints, you need to have more than one subpoint. Otherwise, so if you only have one thing to say about history, then you would put history of whatever dash, and then the one fact you have. Now the parentheses here are short-citing your sources. You don't say a fact and then not tell us where you got it. You got to tell us where you got the information. You weren't born knowing it, right? You had to read something or watch something to get that information. So we are teaching you how to cite your research in here. So A, main point 1 is history of. Let's say there's about 2 or 3 things different things that you want to say about the history. That's when you go into these subpoints. So always be the regular numbers after the capital letters. You go in one level, it's regular numbers. So subpoint 1 might be about when something was first created or invented or discovered. There's 2 ways to short cite. I realize I'm looking at my time here. There's 2 ways to short cite, and you have to do this in your outline. You also have to do it verbally when you're giving the speech. So the first way to short cite, and you need to choose one of these styles and stick with it for your whole outline. What you see here is a parenthesis. So I might say Mexican cuisine started back in the Mayan times. I got that information from the Encyclopedia of Mexican Cuisine. That is my short cite of where did I get that information. So then in the outline, let's say subpoint 1, I'm telling you where Mexican cuisine started. So in the parentheses after it, you would put the name of the publication. So Encyclopedia of Mexican Cuisine would go inside the quote in the parentheses. And I need you to highlight those in yellow for me so I can count them easily. There's a second way to do this if you prefer. Instead of doing it this way, there's no parentheses. You would just say, according to the Encyclopedia of Mexican Cuisine, tamales were created during Mayan times. In that case, you're doing the short side in the beginning of the sentence, according to. So that's where I would need you to highlight just according to, and then Encyclopedia of Mexican Cuisine, just those words. Highlight those in yellow for me. Okay, so however many subpoints you have, that's something you determine depending on the research you find and what you want to tell us about each main point. So let's say I'm done with the history of, and I'm going to my second main point. Here's the signpost right here. That signpost would say signpost colon. Now that I've covered the history of, I will now explain the different types of whatever it is. So then capital B, main point 2 would say types of tamales or whatever it is. Now, you could choose how many types you want to cover. You need to cite research for each one. So under B, let's say I have 2 subpoints about types of. You might want more than 2 types if you're going to be doing this. You might want to do 3 or 4. But because it's types, it has to be more than 1. So let's say number 1 is a certain type of tamale that originated in Mexico. And I'm telling you info, and I'm saying according to, and it's another source. According to Mamacita's Cookbook of the Century, the tamales that are now more popular in the United States are. Okay, so according to that book, that's your short site. Or you could say the information, and I got that from Mamacita's book of the best of Mexican cooking. Okay, and once you're done with the types, the signpost here before C would say signpost colon. Now that I've told you about the different types of tamales, I'm going to show you how to make a tamale. And that's where the how-to comes in. You have to show us how to do something. So main point 3 then, or C, would be how to make tamales. And the subpoints under this would be the different steps in how to make tamales. So the first subpoint might be the recipe, the ingredients you'll need. And then the rest of the subpoints would be step-by-step how to make tamales. All right, now let's look at conclusion. Conclusion is short and sweet, very short, very sweet. It's always this way. It's Roman numeral number 3 with the word conclusion after it. Capital A is always going to be a review of your main points, but I want you to start out with the topic. So it would be A is, today I taught you all about how to make tamales. First, I told you the history of tamales. Then I told you about different types of tamales. Finally, I taught you how to make a tamale. Then B is what I call the so what, but that's not what you're going to write there. This is, what did you want your audience to take away from your speech? What did you want them to learn from it? And then you always want to end this always with thank you. So capital B would be, I hope now you can make the best tamales at home and enjoy them anytime you want. Thank you. Okay, so that's how you end the speech. So I've got about 11 minutes. So I'm going to go through this all again, but with an actual how-to topic in there. And I have another one too, and I'm going to run, I don't have the most time. And yes, I can finish this on Monday, but I want to actually get to the how-to credential, the requirements for the how-to. So let me go through this one first, and then I'll skip to the what you need to do for the how-to. So how to read tarot cards. I'm a tarot card reader. So here we've got our Roman numeral 1 introduction, and then a capital A, B, C, D. A, hello, my name is Professor Zaiden. Capital B, have you ever wondered if you could tell the future? So I'm using a hypothetical question for my attention getter. Capital C, this is my thesis statement. Well, today I'm going to teach you how to read tarot cards, specifically the Celtic cross spread. D, preview of my 3 main points. First, I'm going to give you a history of tarot. Then I will tell you about the 2 types of cards in the deck. And finally, I will show you how to do a Celtic cross spread reading. So you guys, any questions on this introduction, please? I hope you can see how you use this for any topic that you personally choose. This plugs into whatever you're going to choose for yourself. Do you understand? A, hello, my name is, your name. You put your name there. B, you decide what you want in there. If you have experience with your topic, if I've been a tarot reader for 20 years, I'm going to tell them in B instead of this, this question to get them interested. I'll say, I've been reading tarot cards for 20 years. C, I'm telling you the overarching topic of what I'm going to be teaching you. And D, I'm going to break it down into the 3 main points in order. Okay? Any questions about this? So here is the body of how to read tarot cards. Roman numeral 2 body, signpost. First, I will teach you the history. Capital A, history of tarot. So this is true, but I did not do the research. It's just for format's sake, folks. Tarot did start in Italy in the 1530s, and I would say, and I got that information from Encyclopedia of Tarot or whatever book or article I got that information from. It began as an actual card game, but then over the years, it morphed into a way to tell the future. So we call it divination. That's what divination means. And I got that information from a different source. Signpost. Now that I've covered the history of tarot, I will tell you about the types of cards. Capital B, main point number 2, types of cards in the tarot deck. And there are 2 types of cards, the major arcana and the minor arcana. I don't have time. I really would love to explain those to you, honestly, but I don't have time right now to get into that. Once I'm done explaining those 2 kind of cards and citing the sources, signpost. Now that I have explained the 2 types of cards, I will show you how to throw and read a Celtic cross spread. So the capital C is main point number 3, and it's your how-to demonstration. C, how to read a Celtic cross spread. First, I would show you, now it depends if I'm in person or doing this on video, but I'm going to show you what the positions are of each of the 10 cards in the spread. And then I would show you what each of those positions in the spread mean to the reading. And I would show you through visual aids. Okay, and then the conclusion for this, Roman numeral 3. So capital A is your preview, your reviewing of your topic and your 3 main points. Capital A, today I taught you about tarot cards. I covered the history of tarot cards, the types of cards in the deck, and how to read a Celtic cross spread. So capital B is the so what and thank you. I hope with this knowledge you can try to use the cards and find out what you need to do in order to have a successful future. Thank you. Should always end with thank you. Any questions? I'm going to skip over the second sample. You can always look at this yourself, how to make enchiladas poblanas. I did the same thing. I just don't have time to show this to you. Also, there was a works cited page. I alluded to this in the past. You must list all the sources that you use in your speech in the MLA style on a separate sheet at the very end of your document called works cited. And I showed you a link to the resources there. And that's what this looks like. Okay. So I wanted to show you how to research. There was also, remember, the link to the OneSearch in the library, right? Up in your top module. You should do your research in the OneSearch because it searches books, magazines, videos, all kinds of different sources. And what I'm trying to teach you here is how to use this for your speeches. So I don't have time to go into this in as much detail as I normally do. But what this is showing is you're going to get different results when you put in your topic. If I were you, so when you're doing the history of your topic, type in history of, don't just type in the topic, because you're going to get 500,000 search results. You don't have time to go through all of those. So if you can narrow what you're looking for by putting like history of, and then once you get sources for that, then type in types of and get sources just about the types, so that you're saving yourself a lot of time and then you might want to do recipes for, or how to make this or that, right? So I would search each main point separately, because you're going to get more targeted sources. Another thing I wanted to teach you about doing this in the library here is where it says full text available. It means you just click and you can read the whole thing. Another thing is look for summaries or abstracts where you have a couple of sentences describing what the source is, because you don't want to have to go in and read every source. You don't have time for that. So you want to look at the title. You want to look at, is it available immediately by full text available? And if there's a couple of sentences to read about it, that should tell you if it's right for what you're doing or not. And then what I show you is, once you do get a source you want to use and you click on full text available, you'll see something like this where you have links. So you're going to click on one of these links to get to the actual article or report. And then I switched over to Mad About Mexicans. So this is an actual article. So there's an abstract, which is a summary. So read that. And if it sounds great, like this is exactly what I'm looking for, then I urge you to capture the source for yourself. Stop and say, okay, I want to use this for my speech. Capture it. You don't want to have to retrace your steps searching for it. So if you look here on the right, it says download PDF. Do you see that, folks? And then there's some buttons here. So you can download the PDF of the article. You can email the article to yourself here. You can save it on your hard drive. You can print it out a hard copy. And this last one I want to make a big deal of, it says cite. So if you click that, it's going to help you cite for your works cited right there. Get citation. When you click cite, it's going to give you a list of the styles they have. You want to find MLA. Once you find the one that says MLA, all you do is you copy and paste that exact cite on your works cited page. And they've done the work for you. You don't have to fill in a format. They've already done it for you. Steps to complete the assignment. You must choose your topic. Choose something that you either have experience in or that you've never done, but you love and you're super interested in it, because you've got to do all this research. So it's got to be a topic that you're interested in, that you're really excited about, and that you love. You're going to outline your 3 main points. Remember, it's history of, then types of, then how to, the actual demonstration. So you want to do, for this first speech, how to, you need 5 separate research sources. You can tell us a couple of facts from one source, but you have to have a total of at least 5 unique, different research sources. If you want to use more, that's great. But if you're using 4, 3, 2, 1, you're going to get a lot of points taken off if you don't have at least 5. Then you're going to fill in the full outline according to this format I've taught you, with the source cites, the short cites, and highlighting the according to, encyclopedia of, just that part, or just the parentheses with encyclopedia of in it at the end. You're going to also write out your works cited page. And if you use the method I just showed you, while you're researching and choosing these sources, you're already writing the works cited page by cutting and pasting those MLA sites on your works cited page. All you'll have to do after you do that is put them in alphabetical order by the author's last name, and it's really written for you. You're going to need some kind of note cards or some notes, because we do extemporaneous speaking in here. That means it's not all memorized and it's not all read word for word. It's a middle ground. Some of it you read on your cards, meaning the research that you find. You don't have to memorize that, but you have to look up the audience and say, okay, now that I've covered this, I'm going to now cover that, blah, blah, blah. And then you can look down at your notes. read the notes and then look back up at the camera. That's what extemporaneous speaking is. So you're going to need note cards of some kind. Unless you want to memorize it, that's not required, and that's not what I'm looking for. Memorization, not looking for it. It's bad because if you do happen to lose your place, the whole thing goes to hell. And that's not what I'm trying to train you to do. I'm trying to train you to use notes to give your speech. You are required to have and refer to at least one visual aid in this speech. And I'm not allowing electronic aids yet, not in this speech. So it's got to be either a picture of something that you hold up or an actual object of something. And in the how-to, it's easy because whatever you're demonstrating, you're going to need stuff. So if I'm showing you how to style my hair will be a visual aid. The curling iron or the combs, the gels, whatever I'm putting in my hair, those are all visual aids. If I'm teaching you how to do origami, the paper I'm using and the folding, the paper is the visual aid. If I'm showing you how to make a recipe, I could show you objects like this. You're going to need some garlic. Here's garlic. You're going to need this. You're going to need a pan. Or I can even show you a picture of what that looks like, but I have to hold it up to the lens so that everyone can see it. Once you get all of this done, you need to practice in front of the mirror and you need to time yourself. I have a stopwatch, but all phones are built in with a stopwatch. So you have a stopwatch. The reason to do this, A, is you need to get familiar with your speech so that when you give it in class, you're not going, and forgetting it. And the second reason is there is a running time. You need to hit 6 minutes and you have a 30-second grace period. So if it's 5 minutes and 45 seconds to 6 minutes and 15 seconds, you don't get points off. But if it's over or under that range, you get points deleted depending on how much over or under you are. And so you want to get smooth in your delivery, and you also want to be timing it. If you're timing way too short, you need to add a source. Adding sources makes the speech longer. If you're practicing and you're way over the 6 minutes, then if you have extra sources, take one out. Meaning if you have more than 5, take one out, it'll make it shorter. Or you might have to gauge how quickly or slowly you're speaking as well. And that's why you need to practice several times. The day of your scheduled speech date, you're going to upload your outline works cited document onto Canvas on the proper link where I showed you to do it, and making sure that it says submitted, the date and time, and the name of the files. That way I can grade it. You'll get your points. And then you're going to need to take that, write that self-eval paper number 1 week after. It's due 1 week after your speech date. What you do is you go into cloud recordings in Zoom, choose the date you gave your speech, go to the video, which is right there, scroll forward to your speech, watch your speech, and then write your evaluation paper about your own speech. Hand that in the correct link on Canvas, double check, make sure it takes. And then I have a sample outline on Canvas of all the things I just taught you. There's a past students outline that's very good. That's on there for you to look at if you want. And they also have except she didn't do the highlighting of the short sites, but also the works cited is good. Now here's a list of the requirements. I'm 3 minutes over, so I've got to hurry up. How to speech. The outline self-evaluation paper. Speech is worth 100 points. Again, 6 minutes in running time. Here's the 30-second grace period. Goal of the speech, show audience how to do something. Don't choose how to make peanut butter and jelly, how to tie your shoe, how to say the ABCs. We're talking about adult things that not everybody knows. You have to have in sight at least 5 sources in your speech verbally, in your outline as a short site, and then in the works cited needs to be lists in the MLA site. You have to have and refer to at least one visual aid. Just having the aid is not enough. You need to verbally mention it in your speech where it belongs. You're going to be graded on your topic choice, the structuring of your speech, previewing, signposting, and reviewing your main points, which I taught you in the outlining that you need to do.